Yo! Welcome to the show, BroMob. We're your hosts, Chad and Brian. Today is Wednesday, December 4th, and we've got playoffs week 1, week 14 of the NFL season for you this week with our starts and sits, our sleepers and busts, our streamers. We got a whole jam-packed episode here for you, BroMob. What is up? Trickle on in. Come on in, BroMob. Just tip your toe on in here and listen to some great stuff. Brian, what are you doing there?
Yeah, come on and get the candy. Tip
yum.
on. Come on, little kitty bops. What?
Nope.
Maybe not. All right.
Let's not do that. Are you a candy person or are you a cookie person? Like for Christmas, that is. Do you like eating things like the peanut butter fudge? I know that.
Yeah, I mean that and peanut butter candy, and then I do enjoy peanut butter cookies.
All
Basically
peanut
anything peanut butter, Reese cups. so I mean, it depends on what your definition of candy is. Like, so I look at there's 3 categories. There's candy, then there's chocolates, and then there's cakey stuff, cookies and cakes.
I thought you were gonna say peanut butter.
There's 4 categories actually, and then you even add ice cream in as his own category. So you got ice cream stuff, you got cake, cookie style stuff, pies are in that category. Then you got chocolates, and then you got candy.
I think what you're describing are sweets.
Well, that's the broad category.
And I've asked you.
The micro categories, you got to break it out.
Candy or cakey things?
Cakey. Give me the cookies, cakey, / pies. The question
Cakey
is apple pie, or pumpkin pie? That's the question. See, I like pumpkin.
Pie every day, all day.
Apple pie if it's hot, like out of the oven, ready to rock.
Yes.
And I got some vanilla ice cream. Pumpkin if the pie has to be room temperature or chilled, and I've only got whipped cream.
Would you do vanilla or vanilla bean? Which one you like better?
Vanilla bean.
Ooh.
Give me that bean in there.
A little bit of bean.
I want that bean.
Bean sound effects.
Yeah, I don't know why they make poppy noises, but they do.
I have no idea. All right, BroMob, we got a lot to cover here. We're going to get right into the show. Stop talking about beans. But first, be sure to follow along after the show by following us on Twitter and Instagram at FFBrosPodcast and search that hashtag BroMob for so much news, so much crazy stuff, so much awesomeness. Let's get into that show. Starting off with the biggest news of today, that is the Carolina Panthers firing head coach Ron Rivera. This one came out of left field for me, Brian.
Yeah, I was a little shocked. I don't think their team woes are his doing. Ron Rivera is a good coach, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So it was a little shocking to me that they would let him go, but seems like the team's ready to kind of rip the Band-Aid off and focus on next year. Start with a new team. I mean, clearly they're going to go in a completely different direction. Chad, my question for you is for fantasy purposes, what does this do for fantasy? I've got my opinion, but I'm curious what yours is.
Well, I mean, new coaches usually mean one thing: running the ball like crazy. That means Christian McCaffrey just absolutely in everybody's eyeballs. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too much of a change, but it's just going to be a lot more running than we were expecting now.
Well, my question is how is it possible to get more running out of Christian McCaffrey? So
I have no idea.
I mean, it sounds impossible to me, but I guess anything could happen. Norv Turner's still there. So, the offensive scheme and style is going to be the same. I still see kind of everything's normal. You're probably going to see a little bit more of a lean to a ground and pound, less passing, I would say. Just they're going to want to eat the clock, play harder defense. My understanding is the defensive coordinator was named as the head coach, and Norv Turner was promoted to assistant head coach, I believe, or assistant to the head coach or something like that.
Assistant to the regional manager, like Dwight Schrute from The Office.
Yeah. He's the water boy. So Anyway, so yeah, I see more of the same.
Yeah, it was actually the cornerback or the defensive backs coach, I think it was, right? Not the defensive coordinator.
That's what it was. Yeah, secondary
He
coach.
dealt with the defense. We'll leave it at that.
He said, "Play here, guy." I believe that's exact terminology.
Pointed at Anquan Bolden.
Yes.
Coach
Bolden, get in there. Coach, I'm retired for like the last 10 years.
Been retired. All right, we got to keep moving on here. Another big tidbit of news. If you guys watched the Vikings Seahawks game on Monday, you might have noticed that Dalvin Cook went down with an injury. Well, he came out and he publicly said that he didn't play in the second half of the Monday Night Football game strictly for precautionary reasons. This is out of his mouth, not the coaches, not the doctors. Sounds like he is kind of pushing himself because in that same sentence he talked about, Brian, that we got a big 4 games coming up here, and I need to be able to play in those, which is just the words of a guy who wants to be competitive and wants to keep winning for his team. But look, if the guy's not healthy, he's not going to play. So it's worth keeping an eye on, but just so we know, Dalvin Cook coming out saying strictly precautionary, totally fine.
Yeah, I think the bright side here is that he did go back for an MRI and came back out with his pad still on. So that most likely would mean that the MRI came back negative. But, if you watched him on the field, it looked like he was crying, like on the field. He was visibly broken up a little bit. And so, it's good to hear him say that, he felt like he could have went back in and it was precautionary to sit on the sideline. I'm sure the team's going to keep a close eye on that and see how I think it's really important to monitor him through the week here. The good news is he doesn't play Thursday. He doesn't play till Sunday. Monday. Was it Monday or Thursday they play? Well, they play on Sunday.
They play on Sunday.
What day is it?
Where am I?
I'm lost. Where am I? So they play Sunday, so we've got some time to monitor him a bit. But again, I can't stress this enough, BroMob. If you don't have Madison on your team and you're a Dalvin Cook owner, if he's out there, you should spend as much fab as you possibly can to go get him. And then B, Chad, here's my question. If you're a Dalvin Cook owner and Madison's still sitting out there and you've got $20 or $30 in fab left, are you putting it all out there? I mean,
yes.
Are you going all in?
Yes.
Yeah, I am. I mean,
who else are you going to put it on?
I'm going all in on that. So, yeah. I mean, if you're not a Dalvin Cook owner and he's out there, are you going all in? I think I'm also going all in. How much fab?
Just if I have 20 or 30? Well,
I mean, let's say I don't know, what amount is too much?
I don't know, 20 or 30 actually sounds reasonable for Alexander Madison.
So there you go, bro, Mom. I guess it is what it is. 30 plus is too much. There you go. Nice.
Or you can be like me, and I added him weeks ago, and have him in the underground league, just sitting on my bench, hanging out, looking me in the face. Yep. So that's nice.
Hey, shame on whoever had Dalvin Cook. How dare you?
Let's move on here. We got the Chiefs. Brian, this was amazing to me. I saw this and I go, why? The Chiefs have come out and they have signed former running back Spencer Ware to the team, making what was already a crowded backfield and crazy situation with Sean McCoy, Damian Williams, Darrell Williams, and Darwin Thompson this past week, having the most carries on the team, making it even more cluttered. So I can't stress enough, BroMob, that this defense, I can't even speak right now, that this backfield is the most cluster thing I've ever seen in my life. I don't trust anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be tough to stomach, to be quite honest. So I'm not interested in any running back on that team right now.
Yeah, not at all. Not even for flex purposes. I want nothing to do with them.
No, none.
The Miami Dolphins running back Kalen Bellagio was placed on IR. He's more like a Motel 6. Nobody wants to stay there.
Yes, shut down for business. Under renovations.
Being placed on the IR, they also went out and they signed Zach Zenner, who was more of like a fullback type of player with the Detroit Lions a little while back. Brian, I got a question. Is this the Patrick Laird show?
No, it's not.
No Patrick Laird?
It's just, nope, straightforward. Nah. Get out of here with that.
No running backs?
No.
Okay. James Conner and Juju Smith-Schuster are not expected to play against Arizona this weekend, and they actually have a poor chance of even practicing this week. So Conner, I guess, has a little bit better of a chance than Juju does, it sounds like, from head coach Mike Tomlin, but both of them will not be playing, and it doesn't sound like they're going to be hitting the field anytime soon either. So fantasy owners hoping for them to come back for that first week of the playoffs. You're out of luck.
Yeah, no kidding. It's, again, just we have to keep monitoring these guys. Hopefully you can get by this week without them, or maybe you had a bye this week and you didn't need them. But if you had them this year, unless you really did some great moves during the season, you probably didn't get the bye. So, yeah, that's tough. These two have been real disappointments this season.
Yeah, they've been really disappointing, Brian. I was expecting a lot more out of Juju this season, but they have had, an absolute carousel at the quarterback position this year. So
it's true.
It's been interesting, to say the least. And then finally, our last little bit of news. Wide receiver John Ross of the Cincinnati Bengals will be activated for Week 14. This is actually kind of big, considering John Ross was a top 10 wide receiver before he went down with injury. He was absolutely blowing the roof off of teams, it seemed, every single time that he hit the field. And that was with Andy Dalton at quarterback, who is back. So, John Ross coming back at a time where he could be pretty beneficial for fantasy owners.
Yeah, I agree. So he's somebody. AJ Green too could be coming back. So yes. All of a sudden, Andy Dalton could be somebody that's just rifling him out there. But it's kind of weird. You know what else is weird? You just realize I have on my left deltoid. So I'm wearing a sleeveless shirt at the moment. Just want to get these guns out there. And I have like this one single hair coming right out of the center of my delt. Just one hair. Just one giant hair.
Thank you for that news.
Just random.
It was much needed. We needed that for the podcast.
I know. I noticed it, and it was kind of freaking me out. I was pulling on it.
Wanted the world to know. All right. Well, BroMob, now that you know that Brian has a hair coming out of his arm, that's going to do it for the news. Let's move into our start and sits.
I'm ready to go in, Coach. Just give me a chance. I know there's a lot riding on it, but it's all psychological.
All right. I usually start this off, but Brian, I'm going to give it to you first. Go on ahead.
All right. Just did a giant karate chop. I love it. I'm excited. Man, this is like the best time of the year. I feel like it's Christmas because it is almost Christmas, but it's fantasy-miss. Okay? So fantasy football-miss. That's right. Miss. But we're in the playoffs, ladies and gents, and this is where champions are born. And I'm used to being in this, so it's exciting. All right, here we go. So my start this week, Chad, is the one and only. We call him the hillbilly in our league, okay? And that's Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers quarterback. They're at home against the Redskins. And Chad, let me ask you a question. Don't look at my notes, okay?
I didn't.
I want you to don't peek. All right. How many points is Aaron Rodgers averaging at home this season? Let me tell you, okay, because I know you're looking at my notes.
I'm not.
20.8 points, okay? He's averaging almost 21 points a game at home this season. They're at home. It's that time of the year, Chad. It's getting kind of cold up in that Green Bay area. A lot of stuff, this white stuff tends to fall out of the sky, gets nice and cold. These teams that aren't used to it, they come up there. They don't really know how to play in it, and Aaron Rodgers lights them up. So this week, guess who they draw? The Washington Redskins. And look, they're the 10th worst team against quarterbacks this season in fantasy. If you've got Aaron Rodgers, you need to have him in your lineup. Don't be trying to stream. Aaron Rodgers is a plug and play this week, and he may very well be a plug and play rest of the season. But Aaron Rodgers for sure is going to be a start this week. I love him at home against the Redskins.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot. It was between him and this guy that I have here, Brian, Kirk Cousins. Yep. I've had him before. This is another one of those times where I love Kirk Cousins going up against the Detroit Lions at home. Look, I just watched the Detroit Lions let Mitch Trubisky absolutely light them up, throw for over 300 yards. It was his first time in 16 games that he's thrown for 300 yards or more, and the Lions allowed that to happen. Yeah, I'm starting Kirk Cousins, and I'm confident about it. Get him in, BroMob.
Yep. No, I'm with you. As a matter of fact, I got him rolling this week in the Underground League. I'll be playing pretzels this week. Coming for you, bro. Because then
that should be a good match.
If I win this
I'll
game,
be watching because I'll be in the bye.
Yeah, you do have a bye. Good for you. Mm-hmm. I helped you draft that team, so you're welcome. But
it was really nice to beat you by 0 points out of Tyler Lockett. That was very nice.
Don't even get me started on that BS. So here's the deal, which would have, by the way, gotten Pretzels the bye. So Pretzels, maybe that was strategery. Maybe I called Tyler Lockett up because we're good friends. And I'm like, hey man, just 0 points. I want to bounce this Pretzels guy out of the league so I can play my brother in the conference championship, knock him out, and go win the big game. So maybe that was a strategy, Chad. Huh? You ever think about that?
I didn't, because it's a bad strategy.
Of course you didn't, because it's impossible. So all right, let's move on. So my quarterback sit this week, the guy I want you to put on the bench, is not necessarily a complete sit. I'm going to be honest with you. So here's the deal. I'm rolling Josh Allen out there as a sit this week. He's at home against the Ravens. And the Ravens, I get it. Josh Allen has a pretty high floor with his scrambling abilities. Once the pocket breaks down, I actually saw a statistic out there, like over 70%, I think it's almost like 78% of his rushing yards come after the pocket breaks down and he scrambles. So they're not designed run plays. He's just scrambling, and he's really good at it. So you couple that with the Ravens, who are one of the most aggressive defensive fronts in the league in their blitzing schemes, and there is scrambling ability there. So I think he does have a high floor, probably, I'd say maybe like a 10 or an 11 point floor, which is not bad for a quarterback. It could be worse, but I don't see Josh Allen throwing on this Ravens team, Chad. And so I don't feel comfortable playing him this week in week 1 of a playoff game. I get it. He's been a solid quarterback play in a lot of games this season. I'm not comfortable against this Ravens defense.
Even with a 10-point floor, if he throws for 200 yards, let's say he doesn't get a touchdown, another 8 points on top of that. We're talking 18 points, Brian.
Yeah, I get it, but that's, what's our streaming target? 18 points.
Yeah.
So but that's the minimum, right? So what I try to target is this. I don't look at the points. I'm looking for 250 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Now you could say, okay, 60 yards of rushing is 1 touchdown. Well, if he throws for 200 yards and he has 60 yards rushing, which is kind of where he's been, then he threw for 200 yards and a touchdown. That's not what I'm looking for in a streaming option. So that's where I'm getting my thought process from.
Could get a rushing touchdown too. Let's move on here. I got the other guy who likes to rush the ball, not Lamar Jackson, everybody. Kyler Murray going up against Pittsburgh. Not only is Pittsburgh good against the run, which we've seen in numerous weeks, but they are also good against the quarterbacks. Kyler Murray possibly had his worst game of his young career last week, and he gets an even nastier pass rush with Pittsburgh coming to town in Arizona to face them. This is the 6th toughest defense against opposing quarterbacks this season. Since they brought in Minkah Fitzpatrick, that defense just got really good in the secondary. Things just really improved after that. I'm seeing back-to-back bad weeks for the rookie quarterback coming up for you. Keep him on your bench, BroMob. All right, Brian, who are you starting at running back this week?
So, Chad, this running back play, I really like this week, okay? And I'm gonna say start Sony Michel, running back of the New England Patriots, at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I get it. He didn't have a good game against Houston. Why do you think he's going to have a good game against Kansas City? Well, here's the deal. Kansas City's the 2nd worst team in the league against the run from fantasy standpoint this year. And it's a game that's going to take place at home in New England. And what do you got on the other side of the field? You've got Patrick Mahomes, a guy that can whip it 200 freaking yards down the field. So I just see the Patriots pounding the ball, controlling the clock, playing really good defense. They're in New England. They're at home. They've got the advantage, and they're doing it to keep Pat Mahomes on the sideline. And I like Sony Michel for that. I think he's going to be heavily utilized. I see him with probably 20 carries in this game. And I think he gets a touchdown too. I think he is a mid-range RB2 this week with some upside RB1 potential.
Yeah, I like that pick, Brian. I was actually looking at Sony for some DFS possibilities as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
100%.
a little bit cheaper than the rest of them out there, and he can definitely get you some points. So if you're looking at just DFS and looking to make some money, Sonny Michelle might help you out. BroMob, I've got my solid gold start of the week at running back this week. Melvin Gordon against Jacksonville. Look, the Jaguars are allowing opposing running backs to average 32 points against them, Brian, for the last 4 games played. They're it's basically hike, gaping hole, run through it. It's every running back that comes against them. Melvin Gordon, who's had more than 15 touches in 4 games straight and averaged 4.7 yards per carry on those 15 touches, he's looking to feast against this defense. And I'm seeing what possibly could become a battle of the running backs between him and Leonard Fournette, who's also going to have a good game, in my opinion. Melvin Gordon is just going to absolutely shine. I'm seeing 2 touchdowns in this, 20 plus carries, more than 90 yards rushing, some yards in the air. He's just going to have himself a game. Get him in there, BroMob.
Yeah, Chad, I love Melvin Gordon this week. As a matter of fact, I'm in a league, our underground league, and I have Gordon and Eckler, and I'm like, oh God, I would love to find a way to get them both in the game, but I'm so deep in a lot of positions there, it's tough to kind of flex them in or out. But Chad, so let's move on to sits really quick here. So at running back, I'm gonna roll Tevin Coleman, running back of the 49ers, out against the Saints as a sit this week. And here's why. This Saints defense, especially in New Orleans, the defense and the team in general play different. It's in that dome, and there are like a couple stadiums in the league that just are different. And this is one of them. That place is tough to play in. It's tough to go in there and win, let alone play well. And I look at the defense. They're a really good defense. The 49ers do love to pound the ball. They're actually ranked second in the league in rushing right now. But this is not a game that I would be excited to play any 49ers running backs. Not to mention, how do you pick one? You've got a lot of different options. It's either Tevin Coleman one week, then you got Burrito going off the next week. Mostert comes in. So it's like you got this revolving door. And, so Shanahan's dad was like this. Kyle, no, he was. Mike Shanahan.
It depends. I mean, he had Clinton Portis for some time, and of course you're giving the ball to Clinton Portis when he runs the ball.
True, but after that, once they didn't have like a guy, like one singular, like it was a revolving door. So, and Kyle Shanahan learned right from his dad underneath his wings. So it doesn't surprise me that this is kind of a revolving door of running backs in this team. I don't know if this is going to be a Tevin Coleman type of game or not, but I'm not willing to find out. If there are other options out there, which I'm sure there are, maybe you want to look for them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm going to stick in the same game, Brian, and I'm going to go to the other side of the ball and make a little bit more of an out of their decision. Alvin Kamara going against San Francisco. I get it. It's hard to sit him just based on name value alone, but you have to admit he hasn't been his elite self this season. I mean, yes, he's had double-digit point games, but they've been very low. It's like 10, 11 points, right? I mean, he's flex-worthy type of scores. He hasn't been 20 points, 30 points like he was scoring last season. That's certainly not going to happen this week against San Francisco, who is the 3rd toughest defense against opposing rushers in fantasy football. And in my opinion, number 2, if not number 1, in like actual football statistics. It's them in New England. I mean, it's ridiculous between the two of them.
Sure.
So I'm not. Alvin Kamara can get used in the air. He'll get some points for catches. I get it. His floor is a little bit safe because of that. He's not gonna get you a 5. But I'm gonna put out on a limb. I don't even know if he scores a 10 this week. He might get you 8 or 9, and that's not something that you want out of a running back position. Not just because you're not putting him in the flex. You don't want him in your RB1 position and have Alvin Kamara score 8 points for you, especially in week 1 of the playoffs. I don't like that.
Yeah, I think the key factor is going to be, does he get in the paint? If he doesn't get in the paint, it's going to be a really rough game. Because I don't even know that he's going to have 75 yards rushing.
I know.
I mean,
I'm the same way.
I mean, especially you look at the the way they've been running the ball. Kamara has been used down the field and in the middle of the field. But once they get in that red zone, it seems to be it shifts a bit, and so you see Latavius Murray get in there a little bit more, and when you've got a two-headed rushing attack and you have a risk of not even having 100 yards on the ground in a game, total, it's going to be tough. So it's this is a tough game. I'm with you on that. And yeah, I think you'll see that here in a bit. I've got him listed a little bit further down. Chad, let's move on to wide receivers.
All right. Well, I am starting. I'm not calling him a sleeper, Brian, because I think he's awake. I think we're all awake on him. Devontae Parker against the New York Jets. What a turnaround season for him. I mean, it only took him 5 years, but here's the Devontae Parker we've all been looking and waiting for. Every offseason when he's blowing stuff up, he's like, best offseason program, Devontae Parker. I swear the last 3 seasons it's been that. And it's finally coming to fruition. Look, this guy has had 10 or more targets in 4 straight games. He's had 7 double-digit fantasy performances for 9 out of the 12 games played this season. And the last time he played the New York Jets, he had a 13-point fantasy performance, gets them with a touchdown and some good yardage and some good catches as well. Devontae Parker's not only a great start this week, Brian, but he's a possible fantasy championship winner. He's one of those players that comes in, if you picked him up early, maybe you've had him for the last 4 weeks or something, and you've been maybe you haven't started him because he's Devontae Parker, right? The name alone, it's hard to start somebody that you don't trust in. You should trust in him now. This is the guy. He could possibly get you that championship. I love him.
Yeah, Chad, would you say that he has parked himself in our vision?
Oh, yes. Not only has he parked his way, but he's also gotten out, bowled a couple strikes, and now he's eating the pizza and drinking the beer too.
I thought you said I thought you were going to say not only has he parked himself, but he has also done backed it up.
I messed up.
Anyway, Anyway, what are you going to do? All right. So my start at wide receiver this week is a guy that if you listen to yesterday's episode, I was on this guy's bandwagon. Not only was I on the bandwagon, I built it, I dressed it, and I was like with a megaphone screaming his name as they were dragging me down the road. So, and that's wide receiver Zach Pascal of the Indianapolis Colts. They're on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year. And you need to know one thing about this game. Actually, you need to know 2. Number 1 is Zach Pascal is if T.Y. Hilton is out, he is Jacoby Brissett's number 1 target. He's the number 1 option on a team where they're going to likely throw the ball a lot. Number 2 thing you need to know is the Buccaneers are the worst team in the league against wide receivers this season when it comes to fantasy. So Pascal had a great game last week. I see him having another great game this week. As a matter of fact, I see the Brissett and a lot of the Indianapolis Colts offense having a good game this week. On the road, in the warm, against Tampa Bay. I like the upside. I think he's a wide receiver. I think he's a low-end wide receiver 1, maybe a high-end wide receiver 2, but he's definitely got wide receiver 1 upside this week.
The only thing you can throw it away is some bad weather. It is the time of season where weather takes place in the Tampa Bay area. Hurricanes like to try and come through. That's the only thing that can really throw that off. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unlikely that you have, unless it's a massive amount of rain. But it's down that way. I mean, look, there's a reason the NFL holds the a lot of Super Bowls down in the Florida area. Mm-hmm. It's usually nice weather. You get the rainstorms occasionally, but I think it's unlikely. I think the thing that would really screw it up is somehow T.Y. Hilton gets healthy by Sunday and plays. But that's highly unlikely at this point. Yeah,
I hear you. All right, I'm going to go into the sits here, Brian. Another big name. I'm being ballsy this week. It's the playoffs, and I want to make sure you guys are getting your wins, BroMob. Amari Cooper going up against Chicago, and I get it. Chicago just let Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones absolutely obliterate them from David Blah. But it's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row for the Chicago Bears. Look, they're probably fuming about the fact that they let that happen on Thanksgiving, national television. It absolutely, they had to embarrass that defense. They're much better than that. They have been all season. They're going to prove that again. Amari Cooper, he's going to be the one they're going to try and shut down all game. They're going to let players like Michael Gallup, Randall Cobb, Jason Witten, those are the players they're going to want to beat them, but not Amari Cooper. This is his 4th tough matchup in a row, Brian. He's had 3 bad to mediocre games in a row because of tough matchups. One of them he didn't even have a catch in. It was the New England Patriots, but it's a really tough schedule for Amari Cooper here. It gets easier after this week. It gets much easier after this week. But this is like another tough one here. And Amari Cooper, he's just going to have a hard time scoring points against the Chicago Bears. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, Chad, I'm with you. I'm going to roll into my sit here, and that's a guy that I truly love and I have loved all season. I've got him in a lot of leagues, and we talked about him last night as he was just jamming a dagger down my eyeball, and that's wide receiver Tyler Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks. He's going on the road. They're on the road against the Rams this week. Came off a big win last week, but he had an absolute zero, and this is Tyler Lockett's not a full-on sit. This is not a sit recommendation, even though this is a sit segment. It's more of a temper your expectations. I can't say sit Tyler Lockett. I just can't say it. He's too valuable to that team, and he could, at the blink of an eye, put up a 20 or 30 on a team. So you don't want to sit Tyler Lockett, but I am concerned, and I would temper your expectations a little bit, especially this week against a tough Rams defense. The streak he's on lately has not been fun to watch. And I can't help, Chad, but wonder if there's some kind of an injury that we don't know about, or if that laceration he had a few weeks back is still kind of bothering him, and the team is just like using him more as a decoy, so he's not taking large hits and stuff like that. So I don't know what's going on, but Tyler Lockett's too talented and has been targeted way too much this season to just automatically out of nowhere sit. You almost have to ride or die with him, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's scary. I mean, the phrase "ride or die" in the playoffs doesn't bring me warm and fuzzies in my tummy. Not in my tummy.
I mean, look, I would say if you've got other options, like here, for example, if you've got Zach Pascal on your team, and you're rolling this week, I would start Zach Pascal over Tyler Lockett this week.
Yeah,
probably a 1 week deal, maybe a 2 week deal. But I would do it this week.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because this could be the week that Tyler Lockett wakes back up. Maybe he's miraculously comes back to health and he blows up for 28 points, right? It could be that week.
It very well could be, but it could also be a week where he has one catch for 30 yards.
Yeah, and that boom bust potential is scary.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of boom and bust, Brian, let's get into our next segment.
Sleepers.
All right, let's talk about the boomers, or in this instance, the sleepers. Brian, who you got sleeping this week or waking up?
So my sleeper, who should be awoken already at this point, a lot of people know him. You most likely have him on your team. It's highly unlikely you find him on the waivers, but that's Jamal Williams, the running back of the Green Bay Packers. Again, we talked about Rodgers earlier this game. I like him this week. They're at home against Washington. And you know what I like about Jamal Williams, Chad, is this. Jamal Williams has had low double-digit carries, so 10, 11, 12 carries for the last 3 games in a row. And not only that, but he's had more than that over the last 2 weeks in receptions. He's had 13 total receptions over the last 2 weeks, and that's impressive. So, you've got a guy that's being heavily, or not heavily, but he's being worked in enough to produce fantasy output. The only problem with Jamal Williams is he hasn't seen the end zone since week 9. So it's been a month since he's seen the inside of an end zone. Now that's not because he hasn't had the opportunities. He's certainly had opportunities. But this is the concern with him, is he's getting the opportunities, the touches, the catches, but not the touchdowns. That seems to be Aaron Jones' role, which is why Aaron Jones has been so good this year. But I see a game here against the Washington Redskins, Chad, at home, where Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams could get going. And I see a game where they both could probably be in the end zone. And so I like Jamal Williams for 60 to 80 all-purpose yards and probably a touchdown this week. And so I think that makes him a really good flex option.
Yeah, it's a juicy matchup. Just that Green Bay-Washington matchup is nice. I'm going to go into another juicy matchup, and that is the divisional matchup of 2 very bad teams, which usually produces some good fantasy outputs. Robbie Anderson going up against Miami in New York. Look, despite the terrible week that Sam Darnold had last week, Robbie Anderson still had a good week. We talked about a couple weeks ago that Robbie Anderson was one of those sleeper candidates, one of those playoff players that you should acquire, you should try to grab onto and bring onto your team. And he's showing that. 2 weeks in a row, he's had good games. Last week he had 10 targets, Brian, with over 100 yards receiving. So he's not just getting the deep ball. He's also getting targeted, which I really like with Robbie Anderson because of his speed and his deep blave. I almost said
deep blave. To blave.
Deep playability. It increases the likelihood that he goes off for a large touchdown in a game. And I like having that possibility.
Do we create a new statistic category called his blave factor?
The deep blave?
No, not deep. Just call it the blave factor. That's his deep playability, aka the blave factor.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually put that into a spreadsheet.
We're gonna work that in,
and get that ready for next year.
Yep, absolutely.
We're gonna start using
happen
that from here on out.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the not so tasty matchups, or what we like to call the busts.
Busts.
All right. Well, Brian, I'm on Twitter right now, and I don't know if you know this, but the XFL is starting to unveil all of the uniforms at this moment.
Yep.
And there's some good ones, but there's also some not so good ones, some boring ones.
Have you seen the ball? The actual official XFL
I mean, each
ball?
team has their own personalized football.
Well, yes and no. So it's the same. The ball looks exactly the same for each team. However, the color scheme of the ball. So it's not a color ball. It's a brown football, but the XFL logo has a different color for the team, and the team's name is on the ball. And then on the points of the ball, you know, where you have the seams come together, they have added an X at this at each point of the ball, which looks really cool. You know, it's also really cool that is very, very subtle is, you know, an NFL football has like these little dots on it, you know, for grip. They went away from the dots, and the football are little bitty X's all over the football.
Oh, I did not see that.
Yeah, that was really cool. I saw it. And so I thought that was a neat little touch. As a matter of fact, you know what would have been really cool is if they just went with that, just subtle. The XFL logo and then the little X's.
I wonder if the little X's were an extra manufacturing cost that was unnecessary that they're not going to like going forward.
That's a great question. I do not know. Wish I could tell you.
I'm looking towards the longevity because I would love to have a secondary professional football league. It'd be just awesome to have. And I'd like for this to succeed.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And here's the deal. Not to get too long-winded on this because we got to get into these busts. But, the XFL, there's only 8 teams. So, it's not like we have a lot of teams. So it's fantasy football for the XFL is going to be different if there is fantasy football, which I think there's going to be. Here's the deal. I see it being more like DFS, don't you?
I mean, DFS, definitely. I don't see a world where this doesn't get incorporated into DFS. It would just be silly for it not to. But I could definitely see fantasy leagues getting created. Different types of leagues. I mean, it could be more like what do they call them? Is it the vampire leagues where, no, never mind. I can't think of the name. But basically, it would be like DFS, but you would have a weekly score on each of those. I mean, and then basically the high score continues, the low score gets knocked out. It's not a Survivor League. Survivor League is the worst record team gets kicked out of the league at the end of the year, but this is more like a weekly thing. So I could see some interesting fantasy scenarios come up from the XFL.
Yeah, that's something too that, Chad, I know you and I have talked about this, but BroMob, we're going to monitor that and hopefully have some content for you as we move into off season for the NFL, because we'll move out of the NFL's season and right into the XFL season. So it'll be neat. We'll be actually coming to you after the NFL season with stuff like that too.
Yeah, I mean, we're the fantasy football bros, right? We're not the fantasy NFL bros. We're here to talk about football, and the XFL is football.
That's right. I wear a ball on my foot. I talk about it.
Yeah, I'm getting mad.
Getting angry.
Getting mad. Don't know why. I'm just angry.
Well, Chad, let's get into these busts, okay, before you get too angry. I'm going to start, okay? I'm just going to interject myself here. And now I'm going to go, we talked about the blade factor earlier. This guy here, he's got some blade factor, all right?
Oh,
he's got
bladey.
some pretty good – he really does. He likes the blade a lot, all right? But and that's running back Alvin Kamara, the New Orleans Saints running back against the San Francisco 49ers. Chad, you talked about him earlier about being a sit. I'm going to go a little bit further. I'm going to call him a bust candidate this week. Again, this defense is no joke. They gave up yards to Lamar Jackson last week, but that was in some terrible weather. This is a game that's in a dome, and I just don't see the Saints moving the ball willingly on the ground against them. So I think it's a tough game for Alvin Kamara this week.
Yeah, I don't like it either. What else I don't like? Allen Robinson against the Dallas Cowboys. Look, Allen Robinson's been a sneaky wide receiver too all season long. I mean, he's been putting up really solid numbers, and he's a top 20 guy at the position right now. But he faces a really tough Dallas defense that is the seventh toughest. I can't speak today. Seventh toughest against the position this season in fantasy football. This could be one of those weeks where you decide to finally start him. Maybe you kept them on the bench like a Devontae Parker, right? I mean, Allen Robinson a little bit more of a big name like that, but you're like, you know what? He's been scoring good. I'm going to put him in. This is going to be one of those weeks where when you put him in, he's going to get you a very low output in points because Dallas, they have been good against the wide receiver. I mean, they've been able to shut down some pretty big name receivers to very just mediocre type of games. So I'm betting on the bad game this week from Allen Robinson, and I'm not going to start him.
Yeah, Chad, I think that's a good roll. All right, Chad, so should we move into our favorite segment of the week?
Yeah, let's get right into it.
This week's streamers.
Starting at the quarterback position, I'm starting this is my favorite streaming option from here on out. Has been for a good portion of the season since he came in, actually. Ryan Tannehill against the Oakland Raiders, only owned, and this is astronomical to me. I don't know how, because since he's come in, he's been a top 10 quarterback in fantasy football. Actually, from what I know, I think he's been a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football. 23.6% of leagues owned. Ryan Tannehill, since coming in week 7, he's just been an absolute monster. Not only is he getting the yards through the air, Brian, and the touchdowns through the air, but he's got 3 rushing touchdowns since becoming the starter. He's got a solid floor based on his yardage and that rushing ability, and he's got solid ceiling too because of the touchdown ability on the ground. I love Ryan Tannehill, especially love him this week going up against Oakland.
Yeah, Chad, I like Tannehill this week too. I'll tell you who else I like. That's going to be my streamer this week, and he's not just a normal streamer, Chad. That's right, BroMob. This week's rock solid, gold-plated, diamond-crested, Arnold screaming stream of the week is quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts, Jacoby Brissett. Again, I talked about this earlier. They're on the road against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's only owned in 51.7% of leagues out there. That means in about half the leagues you'll be in, he's available still. If he's available, grab him, play him. Again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the 4th worst team against quarterbacks this season, and Brissett is going to play, and he's going to play well. Tampa Bay is a really tough running team, so I don't see them running the ball efficiently, but I do see them passing it efficiently, and I think Jacoby Brissett has a big game through the air this week. Confidently roll him out there.
Yeah, that's not a bad pick there, Brian. We're going to move into the tight ends now. And, I see that you picked the other guy that I was thinking about. But I like this one a little bit better because Kyle Rudolph going up against the Detroit Lions, who I already mentioned before, absolutely let Mitch Trubisky destroy them in the air. And Kyle Rudolph is a little bit different of a tight end than what was with Chicago there. So don't worry about anything there. He's got 6 touchdowns in the last 6 games, Brian.
It's awesome.
Incredible. Rudolph has quickly become one of the more consistent tight end ones for fantasy owners his past 6 to 7 weeks that has just been absolutely going off on this tear. And I don't know if you saw the touchdown that he had against Seattle, Brian. If you did, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, I don't understand how he caught it, but he did. And that's kind of what he brings to the table. He is an absolutely crazy, efficient red zone target who just seemingly comes down with the ball anywhere it's thrown. It's crazy what he can do. He did kind of the same thing when he played against Dallas a few weeks back. He had a crazy touchdown catch against them too, right in the end zone. I love him this week against Detroit. It's such a light defense. They're not going to be doing too much to stop him. And Kirk Cousins, as I said before, is going to be. I think he's going to be slinging the ball like crazy to keep the team competitive. They're still only 1 game back behind Green Bay for that division title. If Green Bay were to lose any of these games, they're right there nipping at the heels. They're going to stay competitive, and I think Kyle Rudolph's going to benefit from that.
Yeah, Chad, my tight end stream this week is, and I know you said you liked him, is Indianapolis Colts tight end Jack Doyle. Again, this goes with my Brissett pick. This goes with my Pascal pick. I'm all in on this Indy offense this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Only owned in 50.7% of leagues out there. And I love it. I think Doyle is a great option, likely to get a touchdown. I think he's a good streamer this week, and you could definitely do a lot worse.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. He's another one of those guys I was looking in DFS at because his price is just so low. I think Jack Doyle's a sneaky good play. Let's move into defense here to end the show, Brian. I'm sticking with that Packers-Washington game. I'm playing the Green Bay Packers defense against the Washington Redskins. They're only owned in 31.5% of leagues. This defense, I get it. This defense does have holes all over the place. What they do good at is creating turnovers. And Dwayne Haskins likes to oblige. He throws them turnovers. I see with Dwayne Haskins coming to Green Bay, as you said before, weather's cold. He was an Ohio State boy, so it's not like the weather doesn't get cold there for him. But up in Green Bay, it's a different beast. It's a different kind of cold. I mean, I live in Wisconsin myself. I understand it. It's bitter. Dwayne Haskins is going to be struggling in this game. The Packers are going to be able to pass rush him like crazy. They're going to. I anticipate a couple turnovers like they did with Daniel Jones this past week in the snow. And with any possibility of turnovers, there's always the probability that there could be a touchdown with it too. So I like the odds with more turnovers and the possibility of a touchdown to come with that.
Yeah, you know what's good about the Packers is the Packers defense. They're a very opportunistic defense. Yeah. And so if they look for those opportunities, and Washington definitely gives them the opportunity to have them. And so, not a bad pick. Chad, I'm going to roll a little bit more of a sketchy defense out there than what you're rolling maybe. I'm surprised that they're more owned than the Packers defense, but and that's the Jets defense they're at home against the Miami Dolphins this week. 45.7% owned in leagues out there. Look, I don't know if this is a really good stat right here. Chad, the Jets are averaging over the last 5 weeks 11 points per game. Now they inherit the worst team versus opposing defenses in the league, and they're at home. Miami's a warm weather team. I don't know if you know this, but the Jets play in New York. It's a cold one up there. It feels scary to roll a team like this out in the fantasy playoffs, but these are the plays that get you to the big game. So I like the Jets this week. I'm rolling them with you. I'm not by myself. I've got them rolling this week in the Underground League. Jets against the Miami Dolphins. Get them in there.
Yeah, sometimes you have to risk it to get that biscuit, BroMob. And that biscuit, it tastes good. Believe me.
Are you putting jelly on the biscuit, or are you doing like butter and bacon and stuff like that?
All three. Butter,
jelly,
bacon.
Actually sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to go make that right now. All right, BroMob, that's going to do it for this week's shows. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday and Wednesday to stay up to date on your fantasy football world and to gather any insights on how to dominate your fantasy football leagues.
That's right, BroMob. And also, if you want a biscuit of your own, get over to keytothetitle.com. Get yourself a login. It's free. We've got all kinds of neat little goodies in there that will help you bake up that biscuit and get it nice and shiny like. I don't know why your biscuit's shiny, but just do it, okay? It's nice and yummy. And keytothetitle.com, all kinds of good stuff in there. Start, sit, recommendations, weather forecasts. We've got it all for you. Keytothetitle.com.
As you're eating that biscuit, BroMob, be sure to check out other avenues where we're at. Maybe you're just listening to us on YouTube and you like just watching our face pop up from time to time and some other things that are on there. But you also like to drive to work, right? You also like to commute other places. So we're everywhere you can find us. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Podcast. We're on Stitcher. We're on iHeartRadio. You can find us anywhere that you have, any app that you have on your phone. That's where we will be. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at FF Bros Podcast, and be sure to check out our website, thefantasyfootballbros.com, for all kinds of articles, rankings, and just so much more, BroMob. See you next week.
Bye, everybody. Get those biscuits.